On the 20th of September, we went out on a rescue mission. It was, once we got into the area, we located the pilot, had communication with him, and we were descended from 10,000 feet down, and we were hovering over top of him. And at that particular time, the cable on the airplane was only 100 feet, but the last 10 feet of it was painted red, and I'm holding red cable in my hand because I'm the horse operator, so I had gotten all I could, and we still weren't able to reach the pilot. We were trying to get rescued, so we had to move away from the bamboo, and I had to get the sling to swing it over to him to get the height we needed. And about the time he got a hold of it, then we started taking ground fire. One of the bullets hit the fuel control, and the airplane stalled, and we started chopping bamboo, and that was the end of that. But we took a hit, and we fell about 90 feet. You got about 30 minutes to get away from the airplane because they're going to come in and blow it up, so you need to try to get away as far as you can. And so that's part of your evasion. And we were able to get probably a half a mile away and look for a hiding spot. But as we waited for darkness, we could continue to hear voices, and they seemed to be getting closer and closer. And eventually they spoke, identified they knew where we were, and our pilot looked at myself and Airman Black and said, "Live to fight another day." The three of us, we were captured together, myself, the pilot, and the other, PJ, a paramedic that was on board. Our other crew member, he got separated from us. He ended up being captured in Laos, and 2 years later, during an escape attempt, he was executed by the Laotians. Eventually, we arrived in Hanoi, and about a block from what we refer to as the Hanoi Hilton of the Wallow prison that was built by the French at the turn of the century. And the translation for Wallow is hellhole. It was a cell that I could stretch my arms in any directions and touch the walls, and the only thing in it was a small bed that was designed for a Vietnamese, about 18 inches wide, about 4.5 feet long. So when I laid down on it, my feet was hanging off one end of it because the other end was up against the wall. And the only accommodations on board was a little bucket at the end of the bed, and that was my first introduction to, you might say, prison life. The Vietnamese all wear flip-flops, we call them, sandals, and you could hear them coming. And so as soon as the noise of them didn't exist, a voice rang out identifying himself as Colonel Robinson Reisner, senior ranking prisoner of war at that time, United States Air Force. And I'll always remember, the first words to me, a young airman, just past my 22nd birthday, his words were, "To be prepared to die for your country." Eventually, we got interrupted several times, but then he finally said, "If we survive, we must return with honor." And so you might say that our goal in the beginning was to die with honor or live with honor. And so, honor was, I think, was the most important thing we had. And I can remember sitting there and basically I was stripped of everything. I'm standing there in my birthday suit, and eventually they opened up a little peepee hole in the door, and they handed me in a short shirt, a long shirt, bar soap, a toothpaste, a toothbrush, a hand towel, a mosquito net, and a blanket. And I looked at it, and little did I know at that particular time, they would be my worldly possessions for the next 8 Thanksgivings, 8 Christmases, and 8 New Years that I would ring in captivity. At first, their desire for military information was limited next to none. That was their pretext, to try to break you down, was to ask you questions no way in the hell you could answer. You were obligated name, rank, and serial number, and then they can use that to break you down. But reality was they were after propaganda. They wanted us to be part of their propaganda machine to promote. They weren't interested in what America thought or what the world thought. They were interested in motivating the the Vietnamese. You know, and in fact, they took a picture of me 3 days after I was captured, and the picture ended up being a Vietnamese postage stamp. But it was spread throughout Vietnam for years as a propaganda tool, because, you know, here I am, 6'1", standing next to a girl that's 4'8". You know, look what she did. You know, she claims to have captured me. We were taught that if you saw a camera, look straight into it if it's all possible, because that was your best ticket to freedom, is that they would have to account for you later in life. Basically in the early December of '72, everything about the war had been decided, with the release, except for the release of the prisoners of war. And the Vietnamese, when that was discussed, they said, "Oh, you going home, we'll take care of that later." And President Nixon said, "No, we'll take care of it now." And when the Vietnamese got up and walked away from the peace table, President Nixon unleashed what was referred to as Linebacker 2. In a period of 11 days, we dropped more bombs than has ever been dropped in the history of mankind. Not to advance the war, but to secure the freedom of 591 known prisoners of war in Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam, and some that were held in China. And as a result of that action, the Vietnamese came back to the peace table and signed the agreement, which was read to us in a public setting in January the 26th, 1973. The first release was on February 12th, 1973, and the last release was the 29th of March, 1973. All at that particular time, known prisoners, we had a list, and we went over with the government, and we felt like that everyone that we knew of was and or accounted for. And we had gotten out of the bus, and that was, you know, that was just to get some of that Vietnamese stale air. That was great. But when they finally come and opened the door, it was just like heaven doors had opened up, and, you know, we went through and were brought in, and we felt rather comfortable when we got on the airplane. And of course, the first cheers broke out when we looked out the window, and there was a F-4 on our wing. That's when we knew we were going home.